Hey everyone, it's Corey with Reel Filmmaking, and today I wanted to do a quick walkthrough about my MLV file workflow. So I've done tons of videos on the channel here about the Canon EOS M, shooting with Magic Lantern. You can get raw video, it's incredible. You can check those out. But this is a video of how I currently work with those MLV files once I capture them. I'll just do a walkthrough, kind of show you what I do in the MLV app, how I get those over into Davinci Resolve, and just how I make a starting point to set up my basic looks for the footage. So without further ado, let's get into it. First things first, I've got MLV app open here, so I am going to import my files here, and I have a ton currently because I've done a lot of shooting with Magic Lantern. I found a couple clips that I want to bring into Resolve. So I come over here, I got my fixed focus dots on, interpolation method, I leave it on 1, fix bad pixels, goes to auto. I like to do a chroma smooth, so I'll do 3x3. Sometimes I take a look at how that is. I think right now I want to do 2x2. It kind of depends on what the footage is. The main thing that I do in MLV app is I want to make sure about the color temperature. So I've got my clip here, and you know, because you're shooting raw video, like the white balance doesn't really matter in camera. So right here, I'm gonna take this and find something that I know is white. That gets us at about 34. That looks pretty good to me. So I'll come down here to Profile Preset and I'll hit Sony SLOG 3. So I found that I really like the way that SLOG 3 renders the colors when I shoot stuff with the Canon EOS M. And I've used a lot of other picture profiles in the past, like I've used Alexa Log, I've tried like Cineon Log just to try different things, but I do like using the SLOG 3 profile. So I will set that there. Sometimes I'll come down here and maybe sharpen the image a little bit, not a ton, you know, just kind of depends. One thing to note, if you want to adjust any of these settings up here, anything with exposure, contrast, any of this stuff, you want to come down here and hit Allow Creative Adjustments. That will allow you to make adjustments within the parameters of SLOG 3. But generally, I leave that unchecked. I just do my white balance, maybe do a little bit of sharpening, and I export it as SLOG 3. So I've got some of these pizza clips. I was making a pizza one day. So once I have all the things that I like here, I will actually just copy. So just Command C, and then I will paste that onto my other clips. And then when you double click them, you can see that the settings have been applied as well. So those look great. And I'm gonna grab one more clip that's a little bit different just so we can see how it looks like. Here's some footage I got from a shoot here. So once I have all the clips selected that I want to use, we need to go here first to export settings. And you can see a wide variety of formats that you can export your clips in. But for this workflow, we're wanting it in SLOG 3, so I'm gonna wanna export it as ProRes, and there's a lot of flavors of ProRes in here. I tend to go with ProRes 422 LT. It's not super high quality, but it's not like the worst quality. And file size wise on my computer, it doesn't just kill my computer. It's not a huge file size. And I find if you're just doing smaller clips, it doesn't take forever to export. So we're gonna close that, all the settings are good. Then come here to click the export and then choose where you want it to go. So for me, I'm gonna go here and find it right here. I have an SLOG 3 workflow and I'm gonna tell it to send them there. So now we just have to wait while it exports these 4 clips. The other nice thing about SLOG 3, like doing this ProRes 422 workflow, is I don't find like it takes incredibly long for some of these clips. Like, yes, I know if you're gonna do Cinema DNG, it is faster, but for me, this isn't a huge deal. Right now it says it's about 10 minutes to do this. All right, so we've got our clips here imported in Resolve. Everything looks good. They're in log footage, just like we were looking at. So let's take one of these and make some magic happen. So I'm gonna show you a pretty basic node tree that I use to make this footage come alive, or at least make it look good, and then you can do some tweaks. So first thing I do is come over here, and we're gonna want to do a color space transform. So just search for that. This is going to help get your SLOG 3 footage into the right color space so it looks accurate to what your camera was seeing. So for the input color space, we're gonna wanna go down here and find Sony S-Gamut 3 Cine. Then we're gonna want our input gamma to be SLOG 3. So you can see all the stuff that is happening here. But we want our output color space to be Rec 709 because that is a standard. And for the output gamma, we want it to be gamma 2.4. If you're working on a Mac, because this is the display gamma, I found that Rec 709A is actually more accurate to what is displayed through a Mac computer screen. But you can do a little bit of research and find out what the display gamma is for your device. Before we do any of our grading, we want to make sure that we have our color space transform right, because if we don't have that right, we're going to be trying to make different color decisions and corrections on top of footage that is not actually balanced into the correct color space. So once we have that done, we basically want to work backwards from this node here. So generally, just keep it really simple. I have a couple node structure, either 3, 4, I'm gonna add one more node here. The first node, generally, when I'm working with footage, is I'll put on a little bit of noise reduction. You might not have this if you got the free version of Resolve. You know, there's other things you can do, like some sharpening and different things, but I love the noise reduction on Resolve, so I'll pull that in here. Just do a little bit. You can see down here from the waveform, it just cleans it up a little bit here. But this shot already looked pretty good, so it doesn't need a ton. If you have the free version of Resolve, this isn't going to destroy your images if you don't have it, but it's just a nice little touch. So just working here, I usually start on this first node and I will kind of mess with the exposure. There are a lot of different ways that you can do this. I'm working with the color wheels. You could also do this with the log wheels too, but we'll just start with a little lift, a little gamma, a little gain, so I can get a little bit more signal here in my image. And as you can see, as we go up, I'm gonna wanna pull this back down a little bit to keep my blacks in the right place, keep them down here, but just so we get a little bit more life in the image. So you can see on the scopes here, I like to try to keep it, you know, around this midpoint right here, 640, 678, pretty nice. You know, you can see my highlights are coming up here into the 896 area. So we're looking pretty good here. I might pull the lift down just a little bit, and you kind of just do this dance. I'm kind of liking that. And then again, I can throw this on if I want to. You can see how that just kind of helps to clean up. I go full screen. It just helps to clean up a little bit of that noise there. And so just from a very basic quick grade, like that is essentially what I'll do. I might, now that I have that balance, I might push and pull the contrast a little bit, just so I can get it darker. You can mess with the pivot, and that will kind of affect, you know, where the contrast is taking place in your image relative to, you know, the darks versus the brights. Honestly, like that gives us a good portion of the look. So, you know, we went from this to this, because these are kind of a similar vibe. I can copy this and drop it right onto here, and then, you know, I can do some minor adjustments and tweaks to these two, but they're looking pretty good, honestly. There is my quick workflow in Sony S-Log 3. The main thing is getting that color space transform right, and then working backwards from that, just doing your basic exposure, contrast, if you want some saturation. And there's far more depth that you can have in color grading, but just to get a good color correction to make the image look nice, this 3-4 node structure will give you a really good starting point to make your images look really nice with your Magic Lantern files. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to Reel Filmmaking for more content coming about Magic Lantern, filmmaking, creative process, cameras, all the goodness. And until next time, keep making movies and watching movies, and I'll see you on Reel Filmmaking.